Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Walking Side by Side with Jesus, where we're journeying along with Jesus day by day, following his steps leading up to Easter. You know, sometimes we can learn some of the greatest lessons from people that have made mistakes. How to avoid those mistakes. And if you had a list of the people that have made the greatest mistakes, one that would probably top the list would be Judas. See, on Thursday, tomorrow, late that night, he led Jesus' enemies, the religious leaders that were wanting to kill him. Judas led them directly to Jesus and handed Jesus over to them. And the way he did this was he walked up, leading Jesus' enemies, and gave Jesus a kiss on the cheek.
Jesus, my dear friend. Mwah.
Ew! Cutie alert! See, like how close friends today greet each other with a hug, that was how people of Jesus' day that were really close friends, they would greet each other. Oh, my dear friend. Mwah! Mwah! Judas was a dear friend of Jesus. He had been walking with Jesus for over 3 years now, learning from him. He had been one of the disciples that had handed out the fish and bread that just kept multiplying to feed 5,000. He was there whenever Lazarus came bouncing out of the grave. What could have caused him to betray Jesus like he did? We got to rewind back and see what led Judas to this point. Earlier that night, at the Passover meal, whenever Jesus had gathered with his disciples, Jesus was sitting there and said, "The one who's dipping bread into the bowl with me, he's about to betray me." And he looked over at Judas and said, "What you have to do, go do quickly." Now, the other disciples thought that Judas was going to give money to the poor because, see, that was Judas's job as one of the disciples. See, a lot of people think Jesus was poor. I'm so poor. Jesus had so much money that he had one disciple, Judas, that it was his job to keep track of the money and to give it to the poor and to pay the bills that they had. So Judas went to the religious leaders, the ones who wanted to kill Jesus. But this wasn't the first time that he had been to see them. See, we've got to rewind back to Wednesday. Not a lot is recorded as happening on Wednesday, but there was one thing that happened on Wednesday. See, Judas made a decision. He made a decision that he didn't like the way that Jesus was handling things, and he was going to turn him into the Sanhedrin.
The crowds love Jesus, so you can't just grab him anytime or they might riot. But I know where you can grab him and no one will know.
And so the Sanhedrin paid Judas 30 pieces of silver to betray his friend.
Oh, why yes, it's a deal.
But what led Judas to do this? Well, we got to rewind back again. See, on the Saturday at the beginning of this week, he came into the area, into the town of Bethany. He was staying in the home of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus in Bethany while he was going into Jerusalem during the day. Mary knelt and anointed Jesus with expensive anointing oil. Now Judas, standing over in the corner, he began to complain and, what a waste! You could have taken that expensive oil and sold it to help the poor. But he wasn't really concerned about the poor. See, the Bible notes there that he was stealing money out of the money bag. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for me and 1 for the poor. Now, what brought Judas to this point of stealing from the money bag like this? That all he cared about was the money. Well, although it's not clearly reported, I think we have to rewind back again. See, at some point, Judas may have just borrowed 1 coin. I just need to borrow 1 coin. Surely no one will miss it. Then he thought, well, I need a new pair of sandals, and so he borrowed a little bit more. Oh, these sandals. You know what? I need new sandals after all. Before long, he was taking more and more, and he started trying to hide it. Surely in the years walking with Jesus, Jesus would have gave Judas ample opportunity after opportunity to admit what he was doing and to fix it. But Judas, he kept hiding it and hiding it and hiding. See, walking away from Jesus isn't something that just all of a sudden happens in one day. It isn't one big giant step away. It usually happens in small steps, little decisions we make, little things that we think, oh, nobody will notice. Oh, it really doesn't matter. I know God said not to do this, but it's just a little white lie. It's only a little piece of candy. But if we don't stop to say, I'm sorry, and to fix the things that we're doing wrong, those little things will turn into bigger things and bigger things until one day we'll find ourselves like Judas, that we do something that we truly regret.
No, I betrayed an innocent man! Here, take your money back! You have to let him go free! No!
And see, we're not always going to be perfect. God himself says, you're not going to be perfect. Everybody's fallen short. But here goes the amazing thing about Jesus. The very night that Judas betrayed Jesus, a few hours before at the Passover meal, Jesus knelt down and was washing the disciples' feet. And by it, he was saying, look, the little places that you mess up in life, look, if you'll let me, I'll clean it. I'm not coming to beat you up about it. I'm wanting to come and to help you to clean these things up so that you don't walk away from me. And one of the people that he knelt down and washed his stinky, dirty feet was Judas. He never said anything to Judas of how bad he was or how he said, here, let me help you. If he would have came to Jesus and said, I'm sorry, help me, I want to change this. Or even after he had betrayed him, if he would have said, I'm sorry, God would have forgiven Judas. And it's something to remember in walking side by side with Jesus. If you ever find yourself beginning to turn away or get out of step, don't try to hide it, but instead turn to Jesus and say, Jesus, I'm sorry. Help me to get back in step with you. And Jesus, he'll throw his arms open wide and say, of course, I'm glad to help you. Choose today to walk side by side with Jesus in everything you do.